Hi everyone, Leanne here from Jaded Blossom, and it is day 1 of our February release. This is a quick video with 2 cards. I'm using Kawaii Crafts and the Paper Hoarder stamp set today. And I'm also using the banner dies and the fancy heart dies. So I've got a vertical A2 sized piece of vertical A2 sized card base. So it'll be 4.25 by 5.5 vertically. So that's 4.25 by 11 inches scored at 5.5 inches. And I'm going to be doing some stamping using my Misty and some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. So I'm using the stamp set, or the stamp from Paper Hoarder. It says, create the things you wish existed. So I'm going to stamp that in black in the bottom left-hand corner of this card. There we go. And I've got my little dry eraser just to, spread out some pressure for me. Hoping to get a good stamped image. There we go. I will stamp it again because, got to do what you got to do to get a good stamped image. There we are. I'm going to stamp that again. And, easy peasy. So you've got your sentiment on this card now, which is good. And I'm going to be doing some freehand stamping. And of course, I didn't... Later, you'll see that I didn't turn my video on for the whole thing, and I'm sorry about that. I don't know what I was thinking, but I'm going to score the card base at 5.5 inches. There we are. And I will tape off that edge with my Post-it tape. There we go. And then you'll see my boo-boo here because I didn't even realize that I turned it off at this point, but I did. So what I did was I'm taking all the images from the Kawaii Crafts stamp set, and I'm just literally stamping the images and making a background using all those images with Distress Oxide inks. Now I used Mowed Lawn, Festive Berries, Wild Honey, Mermaid Lagoon, and Ripe Persimmon. So super easy, and I'm just trying not to overlap my images and fill it in as well as I can. Now, I was stamping this, I was supposed to be stamping this, in a video to show you how I went ahead with doing this. But, these things happen, and I swear these things happen to me a lot lately. So I just left it in because this is the second time of me making this card that I tried to film it, and I messed up the first time too. So I just thought I'd leave it in, and you'll see the ending of me stamping, and you get the gist. So, the nice thing about Distress Oxide inks is they've got great color and they stamp great. It's fabulous with that ink blend. So you get really sharp stamping with pigment inks, and that's a mix of a pigment and a dye. So you get the best of both worlds. There we go. So, easy peasy stuff. So those are all my Distress inks. Nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to quickly use my bone folder. That's my Teflon bone folder. I love that thing. And there we go, just making sure there's no ink on that. And that's that. So I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black ink now, and I'm going to be using the faces now from the Kawaii Crafts stamp set. And just to add, add some personality to these inanimate objects, because, I always do that. Why not, right? It's fun. Why not add some faces on here while we're at it? So fun stuff. And like I said, this is the second time I went ahead and made this card. So I decided to do it a little bit differently, and you'll see both. And you can let me know which one you prefer. My first card that I made in my last video, I made 2 videos for today, was kind of on the plainer side. And this one is kind of more in your face color. So, one way or the other, we got a couple of different looks anyway. So we'll see what's going on. There we are. So now I'm just quickly stamping all the little faces on these images. You'll see that I'm stamping on a foam sheet. It just gives a little give when you're doing when you're freehand stamping. It's a little more forgiving. Lets you get a little bit more contact with your paper and your ink pad. I don't know. It's good. That cushion just kind of makes it a little bit easier stamping if you're doing freehand. There we are. So aren't those adorable little faces? You could use them on anything, but they are made to go with this stamp set. So that's awesome. And there we go. So fun stuff. So I am loving this new release. I'm especially loving the dies. I know I didn't use them today, but I really do love them, and I'll be using them a little later in the week, like I said. So there we go. So I'm now filling in a couple of little spots. And, you know, that's about it. Adding a little bit more with that ripe persimmon. And that's about it. Oh, I think I'm going to I'll pull out my Mermaid Lagoon one more time and add a little bit, I'm going to add a little bit of that HEG gun there to the bottom underneath my sentiment. And there we go. So I like how that looks so far. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out some Copic markers. So that's an R20. And then I'm also using R27. And I'm just going to fill in the tongues with R27. And I think one set of lips I do R27. And then the rest, the little cheeks, I do all in R20. And I think I do one set of lips in R20 too. Or one R20 also. Yeah, so just really quickly. Now, I know you're not supposed to use Copic markers with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, and you're not. But if you're careful and you're just sort of dabbing the color in, you're fine. You would not want to color across VersaFine Onyx Black ink because it is not Copic friendly and it will smear. And it'll probably get on the end of your Copic, and you don't want that. So if you do this, just be really careful and kind of dab it in. There we go. And that's what I'm doing. Just kind of dabbing the ink in. Doesn't have to be perfect. You know, there isn't a lot of room for shading at that point. So now I went ahead and I cut some heart shapes out. I used the Fancy Heart dies for the little one. And then the two larger hearts, there it is. And the two larger hearts are actually from the banner banner die set. And those are kind of my go-to little hearts that I put on cards. You notice I put hearts on cards a lot. Michelle from Jaded Blossom kind of pointed that out to me, and I thought, you know what? She's right. I put hearts on my cards a lot. You'd think I'm a lovey person, but you know, I'm not really. So I don't know what that's about. I think it's a design choice. Anyway, so I'm using my EK Success tweezers and Zig glue pen to just add those to my card. And there we go. So this card is very much like the first card that I made. I'm going to round my upper right-hand corner. I'm not sure even why I did it. I just kind of felt like I should round it for some reason. I don't know. Now I'm just pulling in my Jelly Roll pen in a number 10, the white Jelly Roll, and I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to dab the little reflection marks on a couple of the eyes. Anything that has ink that kind of shows through, you know, from, you know, that blue outline image, and I stamp the face on, and if that blue outline image went through the little reflection, I kind of went ahead and, you know, dabbed on some Jelly Roll pen to hide that. There we go. So now I'm going to add a little of Copic markers, not coloring. I'm just going to kind of bring in some flick lines from each side of these images just to give them a little bit more color, but not color anything solidly. And I'm using one color. So I'm using R22 there. And I'm using that on the reds. That's the lightest color of the reds that I chose. And the same rule goes for coloring with Copics and Distress Oxide inks. Like you don't want to touch the edges. You want to be really careful. And I did. I just sort of flicked in from the sides. I tried not to touch the line directly, just because, you know, it will smear and you don't want it to transfer to your marker and cause any issues. But I've been pretty careful. I've done this in the past and I haven't caused any problems. So I'm just going to go ahead and, like I said, flick in this color from the sides. Now, when I was done, before I added this Copic coloring, it's basically the first card that I made. And I thought, I'm going to make it a little bit different, and you can tell me which one you prefer. There we are. So now I'm using YG03. That's the lightest of the greens that I used on my other card from today. And I'm just basically going ahead and flicking in from the sides. And I'm just trying to add just a little bit of definition and extra color, I guess, to this card. And to be honest, I'm not sure which one I prefer. I think I kind of prefer this Copic one, the one with a little bit of extra color. I toyed with the idea of actually coloring coloring in solidly certain things, but I thought, I don't know about that. So I just, like I said, I just quickly, flicked in some color from the sides and left it like that. And I don't mind it. I think it turned out all right. So that now I'm using the YR16. That's the lightest orange that I used from today. I'm just going to flick that in. And yeah, you can do so many things with these kawaii crafts images. You can leave them as is. Don't put little faces on them. Color them. That'd be cute. I might be doing paper piecing with them a little later this week, and you'll see that. You could color them in completely, make a background paper for yourself just with stamping. You could heat emboss them. You can do all sorts of things. Watercolor, Bob's your uncle. You can do whatever with these images. And I think they're super cute, especially if you're a crafter like we are. And, I know you probably have a lot of crafting friends that you send your cards to. I know I do, and I know they'd really get a kick out of this. It's just kind of cute. There we are. So I'm just sort of adding some blue now. I'm using B12 to add some blue onto the ATG guns that are stamped in the Mermaid Lagoon. And then I thought, I need to add a little bit more blue, but where? Where should I do it? So I color in the little dots to the center of where the tape winds, and then I decide to just star out some flecks from there. And I know the ATG tape does not wind like that. I know it winds around, but I was just trying to add a little bit more blue, a little more color to the image, and that's what I decided to do. So, these things don't have to represent real life. As it is, these guys, these things aren't, your scissors aren't talking to you. If they are, you've got more problems than just the direction of your Copic coloring. You know what I mean? So there we are. So now I'm adding Y17 to the yellows. That's the lightest yellow that I used. And there we go. And I'm just trying to decide where the heck am I going to flick this color. I don't even know where I'm going to do it. It's like, darn it. And I just decide to flick it in. And that's what I do. You do what you got to do. You figure it out in the long run. And I think it turned out all right. I also used that same Y15 on the little Copic. Now, obviously, Copics aren't that color, but, it could be any marker. It could be anything that you'd like. It's all from your imagination. And I think it looks great nevertheless. So there we are. So I hope that you are inspired today by my projects. And, make sure that you come back. All week, the Jaded Blossom design team has some awesome stuff to show you. And yeah, that's about it, everybody. I'm just adding in my last little bit of color there. And you'll have to let me know in the comments what you prefer, which one you preferred, the plain stamped or the one with a little bit of Copic accents. So there's the Copic accent one, and look at there's the plain one. What do you think? What do you prefer? Anyways, thank you so much for stopping by. And hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye, everyone.